You've talked a bit about living, but there's lots more to say.
So, I mean, I think the thing that's interesting is, you know, as we heard then, so it's based on a film which is held in very high regard by a lot of people, which itself is inspired by a sort of literary classic. And at the centre of it is this character played by Bill Nighy, who has become sort of consumed by bureaucracy. And his life has kind of shrunk to the point that what he excels in doing is nothing. And he prevents things from happening rather than enabling things to happen. And one of the things at the beginning is a new arrival arrives at the office and he says, "Have the ladies been here yet?" And the ladies are this group of people who are trying to get a bit of bombed out wasteland turned into a playground. And they keep being sent to different departments, to parks, to works, and the document just goes round and round and round and round, and it finally ends up back at Bill Nighy's department. And he says, "Well, it can rest here. It won't do any harm," meaning he's going to deadball it. And then he discovers that he doesn't have all the time in the world. And this kind of makes him reassess, you know, what he has become and what his life is about. And there's a brief moment in which he meets up with Tom Burke, who is a filmmaker whose most recent productions was Shocking Stockings. And he thinks, well, maybe this is the answer. But it turns out that isn't the answer. And then he starts having these conversations with a young woman who he's met in the office, but he doesn't really know before, but who he sort of in whom he sees a youth and a vibrancy. And the unspoken thing is that he sort of sees a version of his lost self, of all those things that you dream of being. And I think what's clever about this is, on the one hand, it actually shares, there's quite a complex structure to the original film, and this shares and mirrors that structure. But Kazuo Ishiguro also goes off and makes it very much its own beast. It is its own film, and it's interesting to hear that, you know, you not necessarily want to go and see the original straight away because you want the film to be its own thing. But it's got this really kind of lovely melancholy feel to it. And I think what works well about it, I mean, I'm a sucker for sentiment, and it makes me, you know, the film, you know, brings a tear to my eye on a number of occasions, but it does so in a way which is very understated. So it is a weepy in the best sense of the word. It's not a weepy in which it's all to do with, you know, everything being overwrought, but it's something which I think it's genuinely touching, and I think it actually does have something profound to say, as indeed Ikiru before it, about the nature of realizing that you don't have all the time in the world, and wondering how you've become who you have become, and wondering what you can do with whatever time you have left. And all that makes it sound sort of quite heavy, but actually a lot of it is very funny. There's a lot of it which is, you know, the interactions between them, the conversation in the pub, even, which is quite a heavy conversation, but it's very poignant. And I thought it was really well done, very, very touchingly done, and it looks beautiful. I'm seeing it again for the second time tomorrow because I enjoyed it so much the first time. So, yeah, well worth seeing.
And there's one point where Bill Nighy's character, Mr. Williams, says there's some work in the second half of the film, particularly about a playground, which he wants to get done. And he says, though some children are badly behaved and tantrum prone, better that than waiting for playtime to end.
Yeah, precisely.
And thinking that he's realised that that's what he's been doing all his life.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into, there's a whole metaphor about not wanting to be the kid waiting for the mother to call them in to play, from play. He said, you know, you always see there's always one kid waiting for it. And as I said, what I think works is that it's retelling a story that's already been told at least once before on screen very effectively, but it finds its own way through it. But it's interesting that it takes the structure from its predecessor and it makes that structure work. Yeah, very good.
Well, now, that was a great video, I thought, wasn't
Couldn't take my eyes off it.
And neither could they.
Do you think they know that they can keep up to date with all things Kermode and Mayo's take by checking out our social channels?
Well, they do now.
Yes, they do.